My mic isn't, though. All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our second millage rate public hearing. Some folks are coming in a little slow. Global warming has turned Georgia into a subtropical state with pollen almost year-round, so my prayers for my fellow allergy sufferers. Right now, Mr. Clerk, I'm going to call this meeting to order. Please call the roll.
Yes, good morning. This is the roll call for the second millage rate public hearing, 10 a.m. August 13th. The Honorable Catherine F. Ryle, District 1.
Present.
The Honorable Carmelita Gums, District 2.
Present.
The Honorable Helen Z. Willis, District 3.
Present.
The Honorable J.C. Sebastian, District 4. The Honorable Keosha B. Bell, District 5. I believe she was going to join us via Zoom as well. Don't see her yet. The Honorable Natasha Williams Brown, District 6.
Present.
And the Honorable Linda B. Pritchett, District 7. And the Honorable Mayor Khalid. Mr. Mayor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Please sound the first item.
The first item on tonight's agenda is the millage rate presentation, which will be provided by our city manager, Sharon D. Subadan.
Good morning. Is my mic on? Can you hear me okay? Yes. Thank you. Good morning. This is the second public hearing for the 2024 millage rate. Could you go ahead and advance the slideshow, Mr. Clerk? Thank you. Next slide. So I always like to start with a little bit of a reminder, a bit of a tutorial on what the millage rate is. It's the rate that's applied to the assessed value of taxable property in the city of South Fulton. It's usually stated as dollars per thousand. So for example, 1 mil is $1 per $1,000 of assessed value. So for calculation purposes, the millage rate for 1 mil is stated as 0.001. The millage rate is established every year by the taxing levying authority. Next slide, please. And market value is the estimated amount at which a property can be bought or sold. The assessed value is 40% of the market value and used as a basis for calculating the property tax levy in Georgia. So as an example, a property with a market value of $100,000 is corresponding assessed value is $40,000. Next slide, please. And a millage rate for 1 mil of 0.001 on $40,000 assessed value would be $40 annually. Next slide, please. So exemptions, the homestead exemption is a legal provision for owner-occupied properties. It does not apply to rental properties or commercial properties. And we also have other exemptions as established by the state and voted on by the citizens in a given city, county, or school district. Next slide, please. In the city of South Fulton, owner-occupied properties are allowed to get the basic homestead exemption, but there are other exemptions that are also allowed for owner-occupied properties, such as the floating homestead exemption, senior exemptions, and disability exemptions. Next slide, please. And these are a few other exemptions that are allowed for surviving spouses of peace officers or firefighters. And some special exemptions are related to age and income. The Fulton County Tax Assessor's Office are the ones where they take applications for exemptions and they provide for the exemptions any applications for exemptions need to be filed directly with the Fulton County Tax Assessor's Office, and the number is displayed on the screen. So in the city of South Fulton, we have numerous exemptions, and this is a pretty close snapshot. Of course, this changes every year. Excuse me. But you will see that we have over 24,000 exemptions in many different categories. The largest of which is the CPI float, but you'll see that we have other exemptions listed for a total of $33.2 million in exemptions, which is a reduction off of our tax base. Next slide, please. This slide is a little hard to read, but it is available online under our FY25 budget. This whole presentation can be found, and these exemptions can also be found on the Fulton County Tax Assessor's website to help anybody who is interested in learning about what all of these exemptions mean. Next slide, please. So this is our 5-year tax digest. It's been advertised in the paper and is available online, and it shows year over year how the tax digest has changed. This number is the real property value in billions of dollars. The thing that I'd like to point out is this year, 23 to 24, we actually saw the smallest increase in our digest in many years. A little bit of that, I think, is the flattening of real estate value, as well as there was a small reduction in the millage rate passed by this council last year. And so this year, our gross digest is still very healthy at $7.8 billion, less our exemptions of $2.6 billion, resulting in a net digest of $5.1 billion. We do take a reduction, a rollback reduction off of our millage rate for our local options sales tax, and that reduces our millage rate to 12.39. I can't emphasize enough that in this year we are recommending no change in the millage rate, no increase, no rollback. It will result in a small increase, in my view, small increase in the net property tax collections in each of the categories above. It's not just real property, but you'll see in the top half of the slide, incorporated in that number is increase in TVAT, which is the sales tax on, the ad valorem tax on vehicles, as well as personal income tax. Oops. And so our net digest increase, the very last line, is expected to be $4.1 million. Still healthy, but as you can see, year over year, it's the smallest increase in several years, year over year. Next slide, please. And this again is a breakdown of the digest in billions of dollars. Just really a closer look at an earlier slide so you can get a sense of our gross digest, less exemptions, and our net digest. As I said, still healthy, but not growing as fast as in prior years. Next slide, please. And so our proposition is that we keep the millage rate the same at 12.399. Next slide. Next slide, please. And as required by state law, we do have to explain the millage rollback rate. The rollback rate is 11.859. That rate would be what we would have to apply if we did not want to increase any of our real property collections in 2025. The difference, as you can see, is between the 11.89 and the 12.39, which is recommended. Next slide. This is a calculation that we're required to do by state law. We do two versions of it. This is the calculation on our current 12.99 and how it would change year over year for a property valued at 175,000, would have an assessed value of 70,000. Local basic exemption of 30,000 would result in taxable value of 40,000 times our millage rate expressed in thousands, point thousands of 0.012399 results in property taxes of $495.96, a difference of $21.60 over last year. Very modest increase. And this is a basic homestead exemption. This assumes that there are no other exemptions included. Next slide. Sorry. And this is our total, showing our net digest with the rate recommended and the digest with the rollback rate, so that you can see the difference year over year if we went to the rollback rate. Next slide. Last year, one of the questions asked, or one of the suggestions, was that we provide the calculation with a couple more variations. One of those was with a higher market value, since our average in the city is generally greater than 175,000. So this breaks down, again, the 40% off of the fair market value with the local basic exemption. And then we put in a few other exemptions, which are very common for us for seniors in our community, which would be the county exemption for age-based and the statewide school exemption for age-based individuals. And you'll see that the taxable value was reduced in this case down to from a fair market of 320,000 to taxable value of 78,000. Applying the rollback rate, the taxes would be $925 a year. Applying the millage rate as recommended, it would be $967.12, a difference of $42.12. And just to reiterate, our recommendation is that we keep the millage rate at 12.399 for another year in the city of South Fulton. And with that, I am subject to your questions.
All right. Does anyone have any questions? All right. Seeing and hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
You have to open the public hearing.
Oh, I'm sorry. This is a public hearing. Let me open this public hearing. All right, Mr. Clerk, do we have any speakers?
I did not receive any cards wishing to speak, but would like to open up to the audience. Anyone wishing to provide public comment regarding today's millage rate, please approach the microphone at this time. Mr. Mayor, I do not believe we have any speakers for today.
Okay, seeing and hearing none, I'm going to go ahead and close the hearing and now entertain a motion to adjourn.
I move to adjourn.
It's been properly moved and seconded. We'll take this vote by a show of hands.
Record that motion approved 4-0. We are adjourned at 10:14 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.